and you dewaterify them? Thirst them? I don't know. I don't think that word exists.
You know, that it's interesting that there's a word for starve, since you can live without food for about a week and a half.
They're trying to starve us out.
You can only go a couple of days without water, so water's a way bigger deal than food.
Turns out more urgent.
Yeah, you'd think there would be a word for that.
Yeah. Okay.
Why don't you invent?
To just dehydrate? I'm going to dehydrate this person.
No, nobody ever says that. I mean, you're right, that's as good as we got, Michael, but nobody ever says that. Back to the topic at hand. Oh, right, the warfare that might bring in World War III, yes. And not my weird, English teacher concerns.
Regardless of what Tucker Carlson said last night on his show, or Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying, or some of our texters and emails, General Mark Milley laid out the level of commitment from the Biden administration toward Ukraine.
Russia could end this war today. Russia could put an end to it right now. But they won't. They're going to continue that fight. They're going to continue that fight into the winter as best we can tell. And we, the United States, under the direction of the President and the Secretary of Defense, we will continue to support Ukraine for as long as it takes to keep them free, sovereign, independent, with their territory intact.
He actually used that phrase for as long as it takes like 10 times in a couple of minutes, making it very clear there is no wavering whatsoever by the Biden administration in terms of support for Ukraine until it is over. Well, there you go. See how that turns out. So the Ukrainians get to go back into a number of different regions that they have taken back, including Kherson there, which is a big deal. But so now journalists are starting to get in there and find out what it was like while the Russians occupied it for the last 9 months. Not good. So you talk to a couple of different people. They're like every town that they've taken back. There are torture chambers around the town where they would take down anybody that they wanted to get information from and do all kinds of horrifying things to. Breaking bones, raping, eye gouging. I mean, all the worst things you can think of.
Oh, yeah, I heard accounts of people who had to leave their apartments and go find somewhere else to live because they were so near the police station or whatever makeshift torture chamber had been constructed. The screams were too much. They just had to leave.
God.
Yeah, that would be hard to sleep.
Anyway, here's this one dude who had been in the Ukrainian military earlier in his life and so knew he was a target for the Russian soldiers. He tried to get out of Kherson before the Russians came in, but found out his name was on a list, so he thought he would stay there and hide, and he moved from house to house while the Russians were there. He spent the subsequent months staying with different friends, I'm reading from the Washington Post, moving every few weeks and avoiding Russian checkpoints. In August, however, Russians stopped the car he was traveling in and detained him. For the next 16 days, he was tortured by Russian soldiers who broke his jaw and 4 of his ribs and scratched the letters Z into his leg with a knife.